Welcome to Kev's Travel Stories. Each week I'll be bringing you a story from the weird and wonderful world of travel, a world that can change the way you see life and love and even the way we find meaning. Places that are iconic and sometimes surprising and even terrifying. So sit back and enjoy while we go on a magical mystery tour together. Welcome to Kevin's Top Travel Destinations, and this week we're looking at Kevin's Travel Stories. And I'm on location, I'm delighted to say, with Kuba Okonlun, my grandson, who is, how old are you now, Kuba?
10.
But nearly?
11.
Yes, next month, isn't it?
Yeah.
And where are we? Tell us where we are.
We're in the Lake Garda in Hotel Splendid.
Okay. Now, what we wanted to do was look at what makes a great traveling companion. And the reason I do this is I think it's a really important subject because we have two opportunities or when we go traveling. One is to go on our own and one is to go with someone that we choose. And I think this is very interesting dilemma that we sometimes have. If you go on your own on a journey, you will most definitely have a different experience to if you go with family, friends, loved ones, whatever. Because when you go on your own, the dynamic is you have to make friends. And I spend a lot of the time traveling, as you know, dear listeners, all around the world that follow this podcast. And there's a brilliance about being on your own because you have to experience the place through the people. The other part of that is to have a traveling companion. My first traveling companion was Paul Williamson when we went to Rome together when we were undergraduates. I had another great experience with my son Kieran when we had an epic journey to the United States. It was for the World Cup in 1994. Ireland had qualified. We went to New York for the first time. That was totally memorable. And since then, I've been very, very blessed because I've been given this gift of a grandson and a granddaughter. And we've done quite a bit of traveling, haven't we, Kuba?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about where we've been and what experiences you've had as a travel companion to a podcaster and a travel writer.
We've been to Europe.
You learned to ski, didn't you?
Yes, I learned to ski with Kevin, and it's been really fun with him.
We then also did some city breaks, didn't we? We were again with Maya. Where were those two?
Antwerp, Ghent.
Yes. It's been, in the 11 years that Kuba's been on the planet and the 8 years that Maya's been on the planet, we've packed in a lot. And I have to say, when I look back on my early experiences of travel, it's been traveling with younger people. When I was young with Paul, then when Kieran was young, and now when Kuba's young. And it's really piqued my curiosity as to what makes a great traveling companion. And I think I've come up with an answer. I think really what I've learned is that curiosity is one of the most important things when you go traveling. Now, again, this is a matter of choice. Some people just want to go on a beach. Some people just want to go to the same venue. And I meet many people who look at me and they say, oh, God, I could never do what you do. I could never go around the world. I like going to my little beach in Torremolinos and just sitting there in the same place in the same restaurant. And is there anything wrong with that?
No.
It's a choice. But the great thing I think about traveling with younger people, and the real gift I've got out of Kuba and Maya and Kieran when he was younger, is that what I lose as an adult is curiosity. And we then tend to, because of the nature of being an adult, because we have to make a living and we have to negotiate the terrible world and the wonderful world we live in, and we can then become deadened to the experience of life. And as someone once said, what's the difference between being in a rut and being in the grave? Well, about 5.5 feet. I've used that quote before, but I think it's very true. But when you go away with a child, they are absolutely not worried about the political situation, the horrors of this world, which are there and manifest, and we cannot ignore that. but they are filled with this incredible curiosity. And I think that is one of the things, if you can get into that, it is an extraordinary gift. I remember when I was first given a dog to look after by a friend. It was a beautiful Highland Terrier, Ebony, and I didn't want anything to do with the dog. But slowly, I'd take her out for walks. I became really fascinated by her curiosity for the smells of the canal and the parks around Dublin, her curiosity of a different way of interpreting life. And I fell in love with that, and I fell in love with that dog, and it was a great addition to my life. And I think you could say the same thing about traveling with a younger person who is curious, because they see the world in a different way. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. Kuba, tell me a little bit about what you've enjoyed. What do you look for when you go traveling? You've traveled with your family, you've traveled with school a little bit, and you've traveled with myself. What do you like when you head off to the airport or you head off to the ferry? What do you look for?
Something active,
Tell me a little bit more about the active part.
like taking a boat somewhere or swimming.
You go on holidays to Poland. What sort of things do you do when you go to the other side of your family in Poland?
We go to the lake and have a swim, and we go for walks to the playground, to the local supermarket, and sometimes swim.
Okay, so you find that that's very important
Yeah.
when you're out. And I presume you also like to have a good interaction with the person you're with.
Yeah,
You like having a bit of a laugh and being entertained.
yeah.
When we're looking at this subject of what works as an ideal travel companion, I want you, dear listener, to take a few little points and just think about them and who is and who has been your perfect travel companion. I think there's this idea of curiosity. I think you also have to have a certain amount of flexibility and patience, because things don't always go to plan, do they?
No.
And something goes wrong at an airport or on the train, or you take a wrong turn. And I have to say, one thing about being with Kuba and Maya is that they would find that to be funny rather than a big crisis. And good conversation and knowing when to be quiet, I think that's another really important part of having a good travel companion. So they can go on their computers for a certain limited amount of time. They can read their books and we can take shared time. So when we've been on this week long together, what did we do?
Like, I do my own thing, Kevin does his own thing, and we also do stuff together.
So that's really important. We know when we're starting to get on each other's nerves, because people do get on each other's nerves. And it's being able to know. And it's so interesting. We've been in a hotel that is full of people, and you can see the dynamics working between older couples, between young lovers, between family dynamics. And it's quite difficult to be just stuck with one person. It can be challenging, can't
Yeah.
it? And the whole point is to see how can you negotiate that. So good conversation and knowing when to be quiet is important. What about a sense of humor? How important is that in an ideal traveling companion?
It's very important.
If you don't have a good sense of humor, the hard times can be quite stressful. So a sense of humor. So when we'd have a bit of fun in the swimming pool every night, not doing an awful lot other than looking at the ants and looking out over the beautiful Lake Garda, you can turn throwing flip-flops across the pool into a great game and a great adventure.
Yeah.
What other adventures can you think that we've created in
Looking at all the fairies, like thinking what size is coming towards us, looking how the ants don't really like the chlorine and like clean themselves after they walk through it.
Yeah, all these fascinating, again, that's the curiosity. And I suppose another big thing about having a good travel companion is to respect each other's needs, knowing that you can have different energy levels. Sometimes I'm going to be tired, and sometimes your companion, in this case, Kuba, he's going to need a little bit of time to go out and relax himself. And I think that of all the destinations we've been to, it's interesting. They've all really revolved around activity, haven't they? The skiing, when we went to Antwerp and Ghent, And there was always something. We've never actually done lying. Would you like to lie on a beach and just do nothing?
No.
Okay, so again, that's the dynamic. You have to find a travel companion that fits nicely. And then when you don't actually fit, how do you negotiate that? I think some of the traits of a best travel companion, the curiosity to try this and just think of your friends and loved ones, and do they fit this criteria? I've sort of drawn up a little sort of hit list of the perfect travel companion. So to be curious like a child, but also know when to back off. To be calm in chaos, so the delayed flights, the wrong turns, the missed buses don't become huge deals. They can actually turn into a bit of a laugh. To be flexible, but you have to be decisive in the end. Let's take this train. Let's sit down at this cafe. You have to make a decision. And as we know, the word decide means to kill your options. And I think you need great energy as well. Not necessarily high energy, but the right sort of energy so you can sort of navigate together through the day. And then, of course, a great listener and knowing when to be, I think, quiet. But I think the most important thing is that real sense of wonder. So I think that is it. The best travel companion maybe helps bring out the best in you. Finally, what's your best memories of travel companion, Kuba?
My best memories are probably here in Limone and Poland, Italy and Spain.
Okay, and what do you really enjoy when you know you're going on a journey with family and friends? What do you look forward to the most?
Playing with my family and going to loads of different places.
You love being active, but then you do like to sit down, grab a book and just chill.
Yeah.
Because everybody does have busy lives. And I suppose the whole point about a travel journey is to break the humdrum, to get out of the rut and to see the world at a different place through different eyes.
I agree.